So Erik, we actually have a few questions for you today. Our first one is, what should I do if I don't know where I'm supposed to work? And that also goes along with, do I have one calling my entire life?
Those are great questions. I think we've all wrestled with that. There's a couple analogies that have helped me with that over the years. I think so many of us think of God's will for our lives as kind of like this tightrope, and we gotta find the tightrope. And if we take a step off to the right or to the left, we're gonna plunge into meaninglessness, right? We're gonna miss the will of God.
Right.
But I've got 3 kids, and I think about when they were young. We had a big fenced-in backyard, and it had a playground. It had swings and a slide, and there were balls where they could play sports. And I didn't tell my kids, go outside and swing at a 30-degree angle on the left swing, and then you will be in my will, right? I opened the back door and I said, stay in the yard. In essence, right? I mean, stay in the yard. And I think we need to think of God's will as a little bit broader, right? What is He calling us to? He's calling us into His story. He's calling us to, honor Him,
right,
love our neighbor, and proclaim His name to the ends of the earth, right? And we can do that in a million different ways. I've had multiple different jobs in ministry, out of ministry, over the course of my life. And I think we can find God's will wherever we are at. So what I would say to you is, wherever you are, be there, honor God, love your neighbor, proclaim Jesus, and you will be in God's will.
Yeah, and so how did you know you're walking in that to your fullest ability?
I think it's a daily moment, right? I mean, I think we have to reevaluate. We have to spend time with Jesus every day, and we have to learn to live by that Spirit. That is a constant dependence and trust on Him. So, I always like to tell people, whether you're a brain surgeon or you sweep floors at a local fast food restaurant, right? We can lean into every moment, every day, in a way that honors God,
yeah,
and finds His will in our lives. But I think it's a daily dance with the Spirit of God.
Yeah, and then do you think you can take pride in your work? So as a writer, sometimes I'll write something and I love it, but am I able to take pride in that?
Wow, that is a fascinating question, and I think it depends kind of on how you see pride. A few years ago, I was in Paris, and this was before Notre Dame had the horrific fire, a few years ago, and we were on a tour there with a tour guide, and he was showing us up on the spires of Notre Dame are the 12 disciples. And there was a sculptor that was part of the architecture of the building back when they were doing this phase. And one of the disciples that he sculpted, he did as himself. And all of the other disciples are turned out looking over Paris proper. But he was facing his creation in essence. And they tell the story that he was gazing on it, he was admiring and saying, look at my own work, in essence, right? And I've thought about that in the context of the question you just asked on multiple occasions. I think the purpose of our work is to honor God and bless other people. It's to add value outward. So if we're outward facing with our work, then yeah, I think we can take that kind of righteous pride that we have used the work of our hands to honor God and to bless those around us. But I think when we start navel gazing, when we start looking inward at ourselves, and again making our work and our creation about us, about finding an identity and a name for ourselves, and making ourselves known to other people, then I think it's a very subtle shift and change that elevates our work and elevates that pride in our work,
yeah,
to something maybe that's not as beautiful as it should be.